What is it as a woman that made you want to run for office?
You know, it was important that I step forward and become part of the change that's necessary in New Mexico. I'm so passionate about the families and the children in New Mexico, and if we don't give them a place to be in our state, to be educated better, to have a job when they get out of school or to go to college, really change the environment in New Mexico in a positive way. We can't do that today. We're going to lose another generation of children, and I couldn't stand by anymore, and it was important to me to step forward, make sure that we made that positive difference, and I think in 33 days that's exactly what's going to happen.
In this election, what would you say are the main issues that are facing the citizens in New Mexico?
You know, what's most important in our state is to get rid of the corruption that has impacted so much of governing. It has impacted the funding that is available for our kids in education. It's impacted our economy. We've taken a terrible downturn. So many jobs have gone to other states. Our kids are getting educated in our colleges, and they're leaving because we don't have jobs in our state. And so we want to make sure to change the environment in a way that's much more positive. Getting rid of the corruption, bringing the jobs to New Mexico and fading out those job-killing taxes that are just strangling our industries, getting rid of the heavy and very burdensome regulations, but most importantly, educating our kids so that when they graduate from school, they have a job or they go on to college and they can provide for their families.
Women are voting 52% over men who are voting 48%. What do you think are those issues that are really affecting women and having them go out and vote?
You know, I think what's hitting home with women is certainly the excessive spending that's taking place in state government. When the woman in the household is making sure that they're not spending more than they have. Certainly the care for their children to make sure that children are graduating from school with the skills, basic skills of reading and writing and math and science. In New Mexico right now, 80% of our students in the 4th grade do not read proficiently. And so New Mexico women are standing up and saying they're not going to take this anymore. They want to make sure their kids are doing better. They want to make sure their kids are graduating and have the basic skills and not what we've had the last 8 years, which have failed policies that are failing our kids.
The Latino vote is growing all across the United States and also in New Mexico. How do we reach out to the Latino vote, and specifically, how do we get Latinas to come out and exercise their right to vote?
Well, we have 45% of our population in New Mexico is Latina and Latinos. We have a growing population. They're very excited this year about voting. They're very informed about what is going on in our state. You know, unfortunately, a lot of the negative press has hit many of the households, and they're seeing what's happening as far as the corruption. They're seeing what's happening as far as the excessive spending. And they are coming out and they're getting ready to vote. You know, we have so many Democrats who talk about how they've never voted for a Republican ever, and that, you know, their grandmothers are just going to roll over in their graves because it's just something they've never done, but they are willing to do this time because they see that there's a determination to bring accountability to state government and making sure that the families come first. We want Latinas to get out and vote for the person that stands for the families, not that just talks about it, but has actually fought for families. As a prosecutor, I have fought hard for families, for kids that are struggling in schools, prosecuting cases for children that have been hurt or abused physically, taking on the corrupt, even public officials in my county. Someone who is willing to take on the status quo and not be part of the status quo. And the women who are out there and going to vote, the Latinas, they appreciate someone who is willing to be part of the fight for the families, not just talk about it.
On the issue of education, you talked about that a little bit before. What are some of the stats that you were talking about, and how do we fix education in New Mexico?
What's happened under the most recent administration for the last 8 years is they're throwing a ton of money thinking that's going to fix the problem. And it's not. It's not fixing. We've put in $728 million into education, and we've gotten nothing for it. We're still 49th in the nation. What we want to do is make sure we're holding the system accountable, making sure that our kids are reading by the 3rd grade, because if they can't read by the 3rd grade, then they don't learn after the 4th grade, because you read in order to learn. And so what we want to do is put more money from the bureaucracy into the classroom.
What is your stance on immigration? What would you do to fix the problem?
I think there has to be strong immigration reform, but the federal government has to step up. and we have to secure our border in order to have good, effective immigration reform. But we can't allow for the violence that's happening in Juarez to creep into our state. That is going to happen if we don't continue to fight that battle on the border.